Alright, so it's Daniel. I'm here at Taylor Lake, segment 27 of the Colorado Trail. I'm taking today off. I went ahead and set up camp over here, and today I'm going to be talking about what gear you might take on a thru hike. I've completed about 350 miles of the CT, and I feel as though I kind of have it figured out. If I had to do over, I'd make a few changes to my gear, but not many. And so this might be a good place for you to start if you'd like to do a thru hike as well. So I'm going to go on down to the campsite and get started on talking about it. Alright, so first, what do you wear? Not hiking boots. Everybody thinks you need to wear hiking boots on a thru hike. The reality is hiking boots are too heavy and they don't ventilate well enough. For people who maybe have ankle problems, and also we're not going to wear the boots very long in order to, they don't have to worry about like sweat buildup or anything. Hiking boots are fine. But for everyone else, and also people with ankle problems who have trekking poles, you also don't need hiking boots. The trekking poles will work just fine. But for everybody else, well-ventilated running shoes are the best choice. And that's because, for one, they're well-ventilated, and also they are lightweight. These are typical ASIC running shoes. They work well for me, they fit well, and that's what you should be looking for. A running shoe that fits well and is well-ventilated. A size larger is a good idea. It's because once you start hiking day after day, especially at altitude, your feet start to swell. And I've heard of people having to cut off the toe box of their shoe because their feet won't fit anymore. And that would just be embarrassing. So aside from shoes, you're going to want to wear socks. Really big, thick, like wool style socks, especially those smart wool socks. Those are probably outstanding socks. The problem with those is they're thick. And the thicker the sock, the longer it takes to dry. Your feet will sweat, your feet will get wet, and drying is really important. It sort of defeats the purpose of having a very well-ventilated shoe if the moisture has to go through like a half-inch of sock, okay, maybe an exaggeration, a centimeter of sock before it gets to that ventilation. So I go with thinner socks. They dry very quickly. There's been times where I've accidentally left my shoes outside the tent while it rained overnight, and by noon my shoes will be dry, shoes and socks. And I think that's important due to the shoes and in part due to the socks. So a thinner sock is better. Those are just typical thin running socks. Nothing really to them. Next, we have the tent. I'm sorry, not the tent yet. We still have to cover the rest of what you wear. I wear shorts. My legs don't really get cold. If your legs do get cold, you might consider pants. You don't really need to take a whole lot of clothes. Synthetic clothes are probably the best, and that's because they dry quickly, and they don't stink as bad. They generally last longer than cotton. And they're usually pretty lightweight. Cotton, once it gets wet, it is like super heavy. So a synthetic shirt, a synthetic pair of shorts seems to be what works for me. I take an extra shirt, an extra underwear, and some extra socks, and that is all the clothes that I have. Aside from like a down jacket that I'll get to in a little bit. You're also going to want to take a hat of some sort and sunglasses. Some people wear those really dorky mullet hats with the cloth in the back. If that works for you, like you're not too embarrassed, then that's probably the way to go. I personally would be too embarrassed, so I go with a buff hat combo, and it works pretty good. No idea who the Yankees are besides the fact that they play baseball? Yeah, so don't comment on that. That is about all that you will wear. Next, things that you carry. These are the Black Diamond carbon cork poles. They are probably some of the strongest poles on the market. But because they're made out of carbon, they are lightweight-ish. Next time, if I had to do over, I would go with an even lighter weight pole. They don't need to be that strong. Yes, my tent does use them, so they have to be strong enough to like stand up to winds and stuff. But just regular poles can do that. So next, the things that you carry. I carry a backpack, as I'm sure everybody does. And this is the Osprey Exos 46 backpack. A lot of people think that you need a bigger backpack. You don't. A lot of people think you need a heavier backpack. You don't. This one weighs about 2 pounds in the condition it is in because I've trimmed it to weigh a little bit less than factory. Got rid of some straps, shortened all of the straps, and it is definitely the favorite pack that I have. It has just enough room for a really long through hike, or at least segment of a through hike, like say 10 days. And the straps feel amazing. It has an internal frame, and I believe it's the lightest weight internal frame pack on the market. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. As far as pack goes, it just needs to be comfortable to your back. There is no perfect backpack for everyone. This one's a great pack to start with. If it works, I recommend it. But if it doesn't, look elsewhere. Now, things that go inside the pack. First, we'll start with the sleep system. This is the Big Agnes Scout UL2. UL stands for ultralight. Generally, a brand like Big Agnes, I wouldn't expect them to make a lightweight tent, because Big Agnes is a pretty mainstream tent manufacturer. And most of your mainstream gear manufacturers in general make heavy stuff. The reason is simple. Heavier gear generally lasts longer. It stands up better to abuse. But lightweight gear is able to last just as long as you don't abuse it. So, little TLC, and you can make it work. But that said, this is a mainstream tent. It weighs 1 pound, 9 ounces, and it is 90 inches by 60 inches. You might not know about tents, but that is extremely light. It's, like I might have said, it's more than enough room for 2 people. Last thing on the tent, one of the ways that it saves weight is it uses the poles as tent poles, and normally that back pole there that you can see on the through the tent, normally that goes kind of in the middle, but I figured out that you can just move it to the outside, and it works just fine. Use that little guy strap to put the end of the pole in, and guy it all down, and it's pretty stable. You know, wind will blow at it. I did it this way on top of Albert. Worked just fine. And that was probably 40-50 mile an hour winds or something at some point during the night. And when I woke up, all the stakes were still in the ground, aside from the ones that were tied to rocks. Those were still there too. Worked pretty good. Next, with the sleep system, would be your sleeping bag. This is actually a heavy bag compared to what I would consider a lightweight bag now. It weighs almost 2 pounds. It is rated to like 18 degrees, and that's enough. It is the REI Igneo. It's a good bag, don't get me wrong. But if I had to do over, I could find an even lighter weight pack from a number of lightweight gear manufacturers, all of which would require some TLC in order to, get it to last more than a week or so. This over here is my sleeping pad. It goes underneath your back. It is a size small that I trimmed to be even smaller. As far as things that, like might keep your feet off the ground, if it really is that cold, I will set my backpack underneath my feet, and it keeps those off the ground, and it works just fine. This also works as a nice seat cushion, so if I ever did switch to an inflatable air mattress, I wouldn't be able to do that, and that's pretty handy. I am actually looking for an inflatable sleeping pad, because sometimes you have to sleep on top of rocks or uneven ground, and those foam pads just don't cut it. The problem is that the inflatable pads are just too heavy right now. I'm hoping somebody will make a lighter weight one soon. Let's see. Pillow. This is my rain jacket and my clothes bag. Normally I would use my down jacket, but I have that out for the sake of the video. The down jacket works just great. You don't actually need to take a pillow. Just put your jacket inside of a stuff sack, any stuff sack, maybe the one your sleeping bag's in, and call it good. So that is your sleep system in a nutshell, which would basically be your tent, your sleeping pad, your sleeping bag, and your pillow. Next we have your down jacket. Some people, I guess, can go with like a fleece or something, but down jackets are really the best warmth for the weight. They are also the worst value for your money. They cost a lot. Be prepared to pay a lot. This one I got off of Sierra Trading Post for like really cheap. But at the same time, it's not the best the market has to offer, so it weighs a few ounces more. If I had to do over, I would probably save up the extra $150 and buy the really nice, expensive new one that weighs like 7 ounces. But that'll work for now. You're also going to need a rain jacket, which is inside that red stuff sack. I'll go ahead and pull it out for you. This is the Marmot Precip. It is not the lightest weight jacket. Also, just like the down jacket, I got it off Sierra Trading Post for really cheap. If I had to do over, I'd go with the lighter weight one. But it works just fine. It is thought to be sort of like the standard rain jacket, and has been so for probably 2 decades. Actually, if I had to do over, I would go with an umbrella. Umbrellas ventilate better than rain jackets, and they don't really weigh that much. There's one that's sold by Golide for like 7 ounces, and that's a pretty lightweight rain jacket, especially given it's going to work better. In that case, you do not take a rain jacket if you have an umbrella. You leave that at home. As far as rain pants go, if it's going to be really cold, like to the point of you needing maybe like down pants or some sort of sweatpants or something to really keep your legs warm, then you might consider rain pants. Otherwise, let your legs get wet. They'll dry. You won't die from it, and it'll work out. And with an umbrella, as long as they aren't horizontal winds, then the umbrella could probably work as both anyways. On the topic of rain gear, rain covers for your backpack. They usually don't work. Additionally, most of the time the backpacks will be made out of the same material as the rain covers themselves. And so what that means is, at least this backpack is just as waterproof as a rain cover. But because those rain covers aren't really that waterproof, I double it up. I put everything that's in my pack in a waterproof stuff sack. That seems to work pretty good. Been rained on for hours and hours, and when I open my pack, there will only be a little bit of moisture in there, and none of that moisture is inside the stuff sacks. So that works out just fine. On a through hike, you need to make sure you stay hydrated. I carry 3 liters of water inside this reservoir. If I had to do over, I'd pick a lighter weight reservoir. But since we're on that subject, here is my water filter, and that thing is awesome. It weighs like 2 ounces, seems to be doing its job since I don't have Giardia yet. And I don't think you can get better than that water filter. I also carry this Gatorade bottle. Gatorade bottles are actually lighter weight and cheaper than Nalgene bottles. They also come with this wonderful fluid inside that you get to drink before it just becomes a regular bottle. And yeah, so what else? Food. Talking about food. Food weighs way too much. Let me pull it out.